Don't use any foul language right now. Well, good evening. Welcome to Pastors and Plaid, our Wednesday night thing. I'm going to share this on my page real quick. Is that you giggling on the...
I was making sure, yeah, this is my phone. Look at this. It's like Inception. It's like one camera, 2, 3, we just keep going deeper. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness. That's old now. I mean, it's been out. It came out a long time ago.
Well, we're old, man.
I would like, so this is what we talk about movies sometimes, and I'm wondering, like, if in the comments section, just as you're logging in and kicking things off, what are some of your favorite movies? Quincy and I don't know if we've jokingly or if we've semi-seriously been talking about, like, doing, like, a little mini-series about
I wasn't
film
joking.
or something. I think it'd be fun to have that conversation, but I wonder what movies you like. You know, whether they're new or older or recent. There's so many out there. So, what movies do you like? As you are logging in, and hopefully you're hearing us okay. There we go. I can see maybe some comments here.
Okay. Hold on. There's got to be a faster way for me to do this, but I don't know what it is.
Awesome. And Jeff is here monitoring the comments.
Jeff's here? Hi, Jeff.
You can hear the voice. And then obviously Quincy from here at Westminster Presbyterian. And
I'm here.
Pastor Jared from Bridge United Methodist, just down the street. And we welcome you here on what is for us a very rainy evening and a very rainy day. I would be interested, I have not looked it up, but I wonder how many inches of rain we've had in April, because it's been like just a lot of water. Or if you include the snow that we've had, it's just been a crazy month for us.
Somebody's saying it's echoing. Is it echoing like you? Is it sounding like we're in a big empty room? Jeff muted himself, so I can't hear what he's saying at all.
I'm not listening to the feed. I'm listening to our phone call. So let me check.
Oh, okay.
You sound like you're in a rain barrel.
A rain barrel. Maybe the sanctuary was a bad move.
Echoing. Yeah, we tried switching
Jared
it up
wanted to
tonight.
be in the sanctuary. Now we're all echoey and bad. You know what? I don't know. We could try moving the mics a little bit differently.
Well, I'll keep talking.
Yeah,
We dial
sure.
in maybe some sound, and then if you guys could give us some feedback just as I'm rambling on and as Quincy moves the mics around to try to get better sound quality.
Don't project so loudly, too. I think that'll probably help. Don't whisper like a weirdo.
What are those called? ASMR videos? Or it's just people
Oh, that
It's definitely a weird echo or something.
is it.
Is it still echoey? Huh. Trying to figure out the sound.
Oh, yeah, that does sound weird. Listening to Jeff. Hey, Lorraine.
Let me try this. Let's just delete that off there. Let's see what happens now. Does it sound better now? Whoops.
Maybe you should just use one.
Can you
mic.
hear me now? Can you hear me now? If you're using two mics, maybe you should just use one. Yeah, well, what I did was I switched it to the computer audio, and we'll see sometimes the microphone on the computer is good enough. So,
Hey, Diane.
does it sound better now?
It's louder, Sue says, which is good.
All right. You know what? We're just...
James says it's better too.
Okay, so
It's still pretty bad, says Renee.
it's
Who knows
still
what it is?
pretty bad.
Some say much better.
Do you have the computer mic mixed into?
Oh, there, much better, Renee says.
No, it was just, I just think these two don't work well in the big empty room when it's just you, so there we go. This is what we're going to do. It sounds like the computer mic is the way to go for now. It's what we're going to do. So
Yeah.
let's move forward and go dancing. Dancing? I don't know.
That works.
All right. Everybody's saying it sounds better.
Good. Well, welcome again.
Jared, what are we doing tonight?
Well, I wanted, because now that everybody's starting to log in.
This has been the most interesting cold open I think we've ever had.
Well, that's true. We've been kind of talking about doing like a mini kind of theology and movies series, and so I'm wondering what movies do you enjoy? What are some of your favorite movies, whether they are new or old, serious or silly? I would be interested in seeing what you like to watch. I think it might be kind of fun for us to.
Can we do the theology of Talladega Nights?
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I was watching Will Ferrell on YouTube, like his best moments on SNL recently. It's like, man, I miss that guy. He's looking older now, though. So in the comments, though, share what movies you like if you feel so inclined. Let us know what maybe your favorites are. What actors or actresses you like to follow along. I don't know. I'd be interested in seeing. And I've been kind of in the mood to watch some movies lately. When it's rainy out, makes me want to watch some movies. Maybe some Lord of the Rings. Although I watched those again recently, and the CGI at the time I thought was like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, it looks really bad.
Does it really?
Parts of it do.
Yeah.
Parts of it. Some of it's still good.
You ever see The Scorpion King?
With the Rock?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's some
worst.
of the worst CGI I've ever seen. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but
The Mandalorian season 2, I think, is coming out sooner than later. Did you end up watching Mandalorian?
yeah, I need to go back and watch it again.
I like that a lot. So I think
Wow,
we're
you just
talking
booked
about.
my evening
So
up.
I think we're talking.
Bye, guys.
About,
I'm gonna go watch The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
This is Pizza Pals, right?
Pizza Pals.
that's right.
yeah.
Oh, we should Okay, so we should talk about this. What did you have for dinner tonight? We did not eat together tonight because it's my second daughter. It's Adeline's birthday. 5 years old today. A whole hand. So happy birthday, Addie! If you're watching with Mom, I saw Mom logged in. But what did you have?
Well, I had pizza.
What kind of pizza did you have?
Same pizza I had last week.
So good.
It was.
Do you want to plug it?
Yeah, it was from the Tomato Bar, the Buff Pizza, which is.
Oh my gosh.
It was good. What'd you have for dinner?
Tomato Bar, if you would like to sponsor us, I'm 100% open to that.
I don't think they're gonna watch this.
You'd be surprised, Quincy. You'd be surprised.
If we got a sponsored video by Tomato Bar,
We had pizza too, but we did homemade pizza, and everybody gets to pick their own toppings. So, what'd you have, Jeff? If you say pizza,
Tacos.
it's not Tuesday.
day late and a dollar short, Jeff. What are we talking about?
Okay, so because it's been so rainy lately, we thought it'd be interesting to look at Genesis, the story of the flood, and it spans quite a few chapters. 6, I think, is where it kicks off. Well, 5 is the lineage between Adam and Noah, and then it gets into the flood.
Yeah, let's start reading the lineage because that's always super fascinating to read biblical genealogy.
I figure if we spend the next 40 minutes just reading these chapters, we'll be in good shape.
And their attendance went from 30 to 2.
That's great.
Is that how many we have? 30? I don't know.
32.
32.
Actually, so, yes.
Whew. Man, we're popular.
I don't know you yet, Renee, but I have a feeling you're a person I should get to know.
Everybody should know Renee. Oh, especially if she's reaching out to Tomato Bar to see if they're sponsoring this.
That'd be
Oh.
so awesome. So
Would we have to do like commercials in the middle of this?
I've been listening to the Office Ladies podcast a lot
Jesus
lately.
breaks the bread. Bread brought to you by Tomato Bar.
That's what these hour-long podcasts do, though, is they have like commercial interjections because nobody is entertaining enough to pay attention for a full hour. Well, we could get merch. We could like brand coffee mugs.
Dude, and they've got like cartoon characters and superheroes and Star Wars stuff all over that restaurant.
People have stopped commenting a long time ago. That's true.
I've got a whole bunch of different versions of the logo for T-shirts, cups, and everything, all ready to go.
Oh, perfect. Good. Thank you,
man.
Jeff.
Can we please get to the Bible?
Okay, so you maybe you nail down a section, and I'll give just a slight context because the flood story is several chapters long, and there's a lot happens, and it's both familiar because it's one of those ironic things that we paint. I don't know if ironic's the word.
It's not like hipster ironic, though,
but
is it?
It's what we paint on like in our nurseries. I don't know. Do you guys have a Noah's Ark scene in your church somewhere? I think we
No,
do.
but my son's nursery, when he was born, my son Isaac, his nursery, we Noah arked out that thing pretty hardcore.
But that just seems like such a weird thing that we've turned into like a cute picture. But it's like everybody drowns and
Hey,
dies.
remember how God killed everybody but this one family? Let's decorate our kid's nursery.
with our infant children? We'll just
Right.
decorate it with animals and. But the whole world, one of the things I'm just amazed by is the whole world falls apart so quickly. Like Genesis 1 and 2, they're made, and then, and I like this. So one of my favorite books is East of Eden by one of my favorite authors, John Steinbeck. And he highlights how... the movie with James Dean.
Yep.
I used to live really close to James Dean's hometown.
Huh. Hey, Chris.
But they, so from Genesis 2, when they get kicked out of the Garden of Eden, like throughout the Genesis story, it keeps talking about how people keep moving further east of Eden. So there's like this geographical yoking to it, and like the whole connection of creation to humanity in Genesis is something that I find very provocative or interesting. Like when Cain kills his brother Abel, spoiler alert, if you haven't read Genesis 3 before, or Genesis 4, then like the blood of his brother cries out from the ground, like, and the ground is cursed when Adam and Eve sin. Like it's just so fascinating to me. But tonight, looking at the flood story in particular, as the whole world is created and then destroyed in a series of like 8 chapters. I mean, it's crazy to me that everything implodes so quickly.
You've been alive during 2020, right? Just saying.
So here is part of the reason, not just because it's raining, but
we're
because
approaching
of like
month 5. We're not even halfway through this year yet.
golly. But doesn't it, like, we thought it might be an interesting thing to talk about, like just maybe to add a bit of brevity or lightness and theology to the world that we live in. I mean, like everything. There's a really neat book called Things Fall Apart. It's this African story of how their whole world came apart when the colonialism happened.
Home Fix It book.
There we go. Exactly. Yes. And well, yeah. But I mean, it feels like the whole world's fallen apart in the last 5-6 weeks. I mean, how deep are we into this, Jeff? You're my designated calendar guy. I can't hear you, but your lips are moving, and I trust that you're just talking, not mocking.
5 weeks.
5 weeks? 5, 6, 7, 8.
That's it? It's only been 5 weeks?
I think.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
6.
Something like that. But everything's just...
I feel like I didn't even have a beard when this thing began. And it's
I know. I wondered that last week. I was like, did Quincy have this whole lion's mane on his chin?
It's lion's mane. I like that. I'm going to use that more often.
So Genesis is where we're looking at tonight. Before we read some of the passage and dive into it, what does the world feel like to you today? Now that we are like 5 or 6 weeks in, and there's different rhythms, and I don't know, normal is too strong of a word. Like I still haven't found like a normal.
I'm
personally
getting tired I find I'm just maybe not tired, but just like weary, you know, like my energy level is, and then
100%.
it's weird. Like, so then like the past few nights, I haven't been sleeping well either.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm exhausted and then I can't sleep. And then
Yeah.
it's just been this perpetual cycle.
Yes.
So, you know, and then like arc with
Fatigue.
moments of like emotional breakdown for no reason whatsoever.
I
Like
was
over little stupid things.
Yeah, I was there this afternoon. You know, if you just get a couple things that just don't go the right way, and it just kind of it builds up faster, I guess. But fatigue is the word. I'm just tired. Like
Fatigue. Yeah. Okay.
emotional fatigue, physical fatigue. So
Spiritual fatigue.
yeah, I mean spiritual fatigue.
Army fatigue.
I don't have any fatigues. I don't have any need. I don't like to hunt. I would like to get into paintballing, but I feel like that's something that
You
like
would.
12-year-old Jared would.
I'd like to get into laser tag.
Okay, I don't care. Laser tag is awesome.
I wasn't making fun of laser
And
tag.
when I play against 10-year-olds, I don't want to brag, but I will.
Now I'm getting like this whole
I'm
like Billy
constantly-
Madison playing dodgeball with the kids at recess
Sure.
vibe from you.
I've done that before. I've played kickball as a substitute teacher in my early days. And yeah.
Join us next week for Jared and Plaid.
Genesis.
Yes.
All right, which chapter do we want to focus on?
I figure let's start with the good stuff and go 8 and 9.
Great.
Both kind of small chapters, both dealing with the happy stuff.
I'm laughing because my wife just said I'm awesome at laser tag.
No, she said she's awesome.
No,
at laser
well, that's
tag.
what I mean. She
She didn't say you were
she
awesome.
said she literally said I'm awesome at laser tag. She really is. She's genuinely good at this, which is a surprise to me. I don't think she would be a natural laser tag athlete, but every time I played with her. All right, chapter 8. Do you want to read? So if we're gonna read 2 chapters, like get comfortable, but not too comfortable, like not like an attentive comfortable. So like position yourself like so that you're awake and alert. But because when you read 2 chapters, that's long. So I want to lead into the story without falling asleep. Chapter 8, read Quincy. We're 16 minutes in. We got to get this show on the road.
Yeah, dude, because you're taking us on a Magellan tour of pizza and laser tag.
And my heart
In
I am
bad
a 15
CGI movies. All right. So God remembered Noah and all those alive and all the animals with him in the ark. God sent a wind over the earth so that the water receded. The springs of the deep sea and the skies closed up. The skies held back the rain. The waters receded gradually from the earth. After 150 days, the waters decreased. And in the 7th month, on the 17th day, the ark came to rest on the Ararat mountain. The waters decreased gradually until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the mountain peaks appeared. So let's stop there and just talk about how clearly it was a long time before they got out of the boat, even as things were declining.
Yeah. And it was literally a gradual release. So
Right.
like it took a long time for the waters to recede and for them to get back to their new normal.
Right.
And that's another appropriate lesson.
Yeah.
What can we learn from them?
Right.
Maybe.
So after 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made. He sent out a raven, and it flew back and forth until the waters over the entire earth had dried up. Then he sent out a dove to see if the waters on all the fertile land had subsided. That's weird. If all the waters on the entire earth had dried up, wouldn't the waters on the fertile land subside? Right?
Yes, I had
Okay.
to read that again because it was kind of a, yeah.
But the dove found no place to set its foot. So the raven was lying? Is that what... Jared, I'm confused. This is why I think it's good to like slowly read over these things.
Yes. I think,
I mean, maybe it's a small thing. It's just like a poetic language thing, but it's just weird to me. He sent out a raven, and it flew back and forth over the water until the waters over the entire earth had dried up. Then he sent out a dove. Okay. Well, let's not make too much of that, I guess. Noah stretched out his hand, took it, and brought it back into the ark. That's the dove that he sent out. That didn't find dry land. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out from the ark again. The dove came back to him in the evening, grasping a torn olive leaf in its beak. Then Noah knew that the waters were subsiding from the earth. You know what I bet this is, man? Is, in the Old Testament, especially in the Pentateuch, there are 4 narrative strands, and they sometimes intermingle them together. And I bet you're
talking about JEDP theory?
Yeah, exactly. Not theory.
No, it's debunked.
It's debunked.
Yeah.
Since
I'd say the 80s.
by
Science.
No,
I'm just kidding.
by
I'd
science,
say literary criticism.
literary criticism.
This is the BART. This is BART. This is post-liberalism. And I'm not talking about political liberalism or conservatism. Either way.
Did it say the raven came back?
Julius Wellhausen.
It did.
So the raven came back, then he sent the dove.
Yeah.
And the dove came back again until verse 12.
Right. Oh, right. So where are we here? The dove came back to him in the evening with the torn olive leaf in its beak. Then Noah knew the waters were subsiding. What do you mean that was debunked? We're going to have that conversation another day, because that is not what I have studied. You Methodists and your weird stuff.
It's actually a Baptist. Stephen Chapman.
I almost got...
Not that Stephen Chapman. Not 90s icon / Michael W. Smith knockoff.
Your biblical scholarship is wrong, because DC Talk said he waited 7 more days and sent out the dove. But okay.
What verse are you in?
I don't know.
You're
I'm so
bouncing
lost
around.
because you threw me off. All right. So verse 11, the dove came back to him in the evening. I've read this verse like 12 times to everybody now. Grasping a torn olive leaf in its beak. Then Noah knew that the waters were subsiding from the earth. Verse 12, he waited 7 more days and sent out the dove, but it didn't come back to him again. In Noah's 601st year, okay, on the first day of the first month, the waters dried up from the earth. Noah removed the ark's hatch and saw that the surface of the fertile land had dried up. There is clearly more than one narrative stream going on here. I don't care what you say.
Yes, I think it's more the specifics of the Yahwist, Elohist.
Okay, that's fine.
Deuteronomist.
But there's clearly
and priestly
all right,
traditions.
That's fine.
But it's
an amalgam of narrative strands together. In the second month of the 17th day, the earth was dry. That is like the most confusing that is one of the most confusing paragraphs of the Bible I think I've ever read.
There's a lot. Yeah, I agree. And I also, Chris says, I was always curious as to why the raven was chosen to fly over the water. I always thought that was interesting too. And then never again. Then it's just doves.
Dave Hicks is with me too. Debunked. That's funny. Thank you. All right.
I don't know who David Hicks is.
Jennifer Oleniak?
Olenichek.
Okay, that's how you say it. Had an interesting quote about comment about the raven. The raven is seeking its food. In seeking its food, settles upon every carcass that it sees, whereas the dove will only settle on what's dry.
But that's not what this says is going on. I mean, I think that's a great. I think that's great, but that's not what this says. Can I just read this paragraph uninterrupted?
You literally are the one who's interrupted yourself every time.
Oh, whatever, Mr. Oh, no, they debunked that.
I'm going to rewatch this. But you started the JDP.
Stop. We're going to read this. All right. So just pay attention. Help me.
Okay.
I haven't taken my ADHD medication.
Dell.
It makes this hard. All right. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he made. He sent out a raven, and it flew back and forth until the waters over the entire earth had dried up. Then he sent out a dove to see if the waters on all the fertile land had subsided. But the dove found no place to set its foot. It returned to him in the ark, since water still covered the entire earth. Noah stretched out his hand, took it, and brought it back into the ark. He waited 7 more days and sent out the dove from the ark again. The dove came back to him in the evening, grasping a torn olive leaf in its beak. Then Noah knew that the waters were subsiding from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent out the dove, but it didn't come back to him again. In Noah's 601st year, on the first day of the first month, the waters dried up from the earth. Noah removed the ark's hatch and saw that the surface of the waters dried from the surface of the waters dried up from the earth. Noah removed the ark's hatch and saw that the surface of the fertile land had dried up. In the second month, on the 17th day, the earth was dry. Okay, that's just very confusing to me. God spoke to Noah, "Go out of the ark, you and your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you." Now, this is not true to the Russell Crowe movie. That's just what
I never saw that one.
It was okay. "Bring out with you all the animals of every kind, bird, livestock, everything crawling on the ground, so that they may populate the earth, be fertile, and multiply on the earth." So Noah went out of the ark with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives. All the animals, all the livestock, all the birds, and everything crawling on the ground came out of the ark by their families. Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of the clean large animals and some of the clean birds, and I'm taking clean there probably means kosher, not pigs or things like that.
Yeah. I'm assuming.
and placed entirely burnt offerings on the altar. The Lord smelled the pleasing scent, and the Lord thought to himself, I will not curse the fertile land anymore because of the human beings, since the idea of the human mind are evil from their youth. I will never again destroy every living thing as I've done. As long as the earth exists, seed time and harvest, cold and hot, summer and autumn, day and night will not cease. God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be fertile, multiply, and fill the earth. All of the animals on the earth will fear you and dread you. That's not true. And all the birds in the skies, everything crawling on the ground, and all the sea's fish, they are in your power. Everything that lives and moves will be your food. Just as I gave you the green grasses, now I give you everything. However, you must not eat meat with its life, its blood in it. I will surely demand your blood for a human life. From every living thing I will demand it. From humans, a man for his brother, I will demand something for a human life. Whoever sheds human blood, by a human his blood will be shed. For in the divine image God made human beings. As for you, be fertile and multiply. Populate the earth and multiply in it. God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I am now setting up my covenant with you, with your descendants, and with every living being with you, with the birds and the large animals, and with all the animals of the earth leaving the ark with you. I will set up my covenant with you, so that never again will all life be cut off by flood waters. There will never again be a flood to destroy the earth. God said, This is the symbol of the covenant I am drawing up between me and you and every living thing with you, on behalf of every future generation. I place my bow in the clouds. It will be a symbol of the covenant between me and the earth. And when I bring the clouds over all the earth and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember the covenant between me and you and every living being among the creatures. Floodwaters will never again destroy all creatures. The bow will be in the clouds, and upon seeing it, I will remember the enduring covenant between God and every living being and all of earth's creatures. God said to Noah, This is a symbol of the covenant I have set up between me and all creatures on earth.
There we go.
Word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. That was confusing.
Some couple good points. If James Vera had brought up the Gilgamesh Epic, which, if you're not familiar with that, you're not alone. Excuse me. Epic of Gilgamesh is one of, if not the oldest, texts and religious texts at that. And in the ancient Near East, there were other, there's a lot of flood stories that aren't. So this story isn't just particular to the Christian tradition, but its particularities are. So he had mentioned that, and then Dave Dawes had some comments about original language, and
yeah.
I don't know Hebrew, so
I do, but I'd have to go back and look.
yeah. Either way, it's awkward because you're using the CEB translation, I'm using NIV, and it just feels kind of choppy and back and forth sort of with
it does.
the language. I don't want to get caught up in the trees so much as looking at the flow of the story a little bit more.
There aren't any trees.
I think what's an olive tree?
Well, yeah, there's obviously a branch
So there we
somewhere.
go. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on here in this chapter and a half that
Yep.
you read. What caught your eye, other than the back and forth of the timing? Did anything else catch your attention while you were reading?
Well, this whole diatribe in chapter 9 seems kind of weird to me. About the whole all the food, all the meat is permissible as long as it doesn't have blood in it. And then I'd be kind of curious to see when kosher law came in to supersede this. So I don't know that, but obviously pigs and things like that, there are kosher laws that not all meat is permissible, right? And then this whole I will surely demand your blood for a human life. From every living thing I will demand it. From humans, from a man for his brother, I will demand something for human life. Whoever sheds human blood, by a human his blood will be shed. For this, in the divine image, God made human beings. Like, we're not there anymore. Right? It's kind of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth
Yeah,
type of thinking.
Well, I don't know why, but the NIV translation, the line in chapter 9, verse 5, God says, "I will demand an accounting for the life of his fellow."
We do need Len
person.
tonight. You are very right, Christine. We
That'd be
need
helpful.
Len.
But I think, so one of the reasons why that caught my eye, I will demand an accounting for the life of his fellow person. So this is like an interesting, one of the things, so Augustine, 4th, 5th century.
Look at this. These verses
church father.
conclude the Yahweh's flood story, but that was debunked. Oh, and then it says along with the priest's account. Oh, look, there's
There
the other
are
one.
certainly
Oh.
many strands that still adhere to it. That's another
Just the
conversation.
majority of biblical scholarship does, but no, that's all right. We'll go with your fringe article on the internet you read somewhere.
That's right. But the accounting, so Augustine talks about how sin is this turning inward, away from God and inward on yourself.
Going for Augustine again, huh?
Yeah, this is one of my foundational things. So that's the Genesis account of Adam and Eve turning away from God and turning in toward themselves. So the rest of Scripture is God working to realign us, or to get us to reorient our spirits. And so I'm catching this as like giving an accounting for someone else's life. But here's where I see it playing out today, is how many of the personal and national stories are about my rights and my health and my job and my money and my people. Like it's the longer we get into this, the more inclined we are to make it foremost about ourselves. And that's the wrong, fundamentally the wrong position, the fundamentally the wrong disposition. If we are all constantly about ourselves, then we're oriented in the wrong direction.
Yeah, maybe. That's interesting. I'm just thinking about this line about, I will not curse the fertile land anymore because of human beings, since the ideas of the human mind are evil from their youth. I don't think the inclination towards selfishness is anything new. I also don't really agree with Augustine's interpretation of sin or of the idea of original sin. I definitely take it more of an archetypal model than a prototypical model. And I think just because Augustine, was huge when he wrote that book, I don't think it necessarily means he was right. In fact, I think he was wrong.
Well, if you want to go against 16 centuries of biblical scholars who tend to lean in the direction of Augustine.
Well, I mean, you just shot down mainstream,
which is why I'm pulling
90%
this out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I think there, Aquinas would have some beef with saying Augustine was right too. I don't think disagreeing with Augustine's definition of original sin is necessarily groundbreaking work either.
So you don't think people are fundamentally
Yeah, I do. No. I don't disagree with the idea that we are maybe sinful by nature, but I don't think it's because of Adam and Eve. I don't think there's like an original sin. I think it's not a prototypical sin, right? It's that ever since the beginning, ever since the dawn of humanity, we've been selfish, self-interested, sinful people.
Like, so we're fundamentally broken. That's what original sin is.
Yeah, but it's not because of them eating the apple and getting kicked out of the garden. That's just symptomatic of us being sinful. It's archetypal, not prototypical.
Yeah, Augustine's not saying there was a literal Adam and Eve whose literal sin reset
pretty close to it. He flirts pretty close to it.
I'm not interested in that as much as I'm talking about that there's a fundamental brokenness in all of us that is on display right now, and it's going to continue to manifest itself with not only in our country but within we will be continually tempted to make this whole conversation foremost about ourselves and not about our neighbor.
Right, but I don't understand how that would differ now rather than any other time in human history.
I'm not saying it differs. I'm just saying that it's on display right now.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to say it seemed like we were more sinful, or
No.
that our sin is more abundant now.
No, we're all. I mean, I'm saying that we're fundamentally broken, and that is on display today in ways that are taking that will be inclined to be tempted to do that even more. The longer that the social distancing is enforced and in effect. So verse 9 is I'll demand an accounting for the life of your fellow person.
Verse 9, chapter 9, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's not what mine says.
But if you're making it all about yourself, then you're not giving an account for the person next to you or alongside you.
We have any comments yet, Jeff?
Just one from Jim Severa about what the Gilgamesh says about the different birds.
Yep.
Renee says she was reading a book this morning and it was stating that the more you give your time and love to other people, the more you take away fear in humanity.
Yeah.
And then Jim's talking about aliens. Aliens from another galaxy would probably be sinful without the benefit of Adam and Eve's original sin.
Well, I don't know. I think I think sinfulness comes with the idea of self-consciousness. I don't think my dog I don't know. My dog knows, oh my gosh, the other day he hid a piece of celery somewhere in the house. He just appeared, walked into the room, and he had a piece of celery in his mouth, and I was like, where did you get celery, dude? But he didn't know I was in the room, so he walked and he jumped and then hung his head really low, and he just kind of dropped it and started walking away. I'm like, well, you can eat it now. I don't know where you have a secret stash of celery.
Healthy snack for a dog to choose from.
But he knew he was wrong I don't know if he knew it was wrong. Well, I don't know, in the same way my kids do. But I don't know. I don't get the sense that animals have a concept of sin. Or I don't know. Maybe they do. No, because now I'm thinking of times when the dog was roughhousing with the kid and the kid started crying, and you could tell the dog didn't mean to hurt the kid, and he is definitely apologetic for it. So there's definitely a sense of compassion and empathy between animals. I don't think he would say it was a sin.
No, I don't think so.
So is sin because we've articulated our understanding of wrongdoing or of creating a separation as sin, or is it sin a human construct, or are we just aware of sin because we're self-conscious? Well, great. I'm not sleeping tonight again. Fantastic.
Christine has a question about Jared's comment with the distancing and selfishness.
We could run the risk of falling to that temptation of making it more and more about ourselves. So what I'm thinking of in part is the protest in Michigan a week or two ago, that people, and it's not just there, but
I'm healthy, why do I have to be quarantined?
Well, there's
type
part
attitude?
of that, and there's...
You don't mean by us being hey, we're going to continue social distancing as concern for a neighbor, that then we're selfish for social distancing.
No, I'm saying that if we make social distancing, if we make ourselves a victim of social distancing, and making about how we are being forced to stay in our homes or out of our workplaces, and they could be tempted to keep going down that line rather than understanding that part of the reason is our care for one another and for our health community. What I want to getting at is we can be tempted to think that because I can't get my hair cut by a professional, that that could make me crankier because I can't continue to have the luxuries or the normalcy that I've enjoyed my entire life, and then I can increasingly make it about what I've lost in this, rather than some of the reasons why we are doing it. I don't think the question isn't. It's not a will to survive. I'm just talking about like the accoutrements of life, right? And some people will think that way regardless. Yes, I think that's sin. I think that the more that we make it about ourselves, the more that is a manifestation of sin. The more we make it about us and less about loving our neighbor, like it is a question of motive. So like one of the reasons why the whole world was destroyed is because it increasingly became about people's selves and their own pleasures, their own enjoyment, their own merriment, and less about God and less about one another. So that's my. Do we care about? Like, I mean, this is just a way to frame what's happening. Is it an act of a love for other to refrain from gathering as a church community for the next 3 months? Guess what?
Yes, it's an act of love of neighbor.
But I think that increasingly the temptation will be to not think that. To think that, oh, Pastor Quincy is not letting me come to worship anymore. Or, oh, the church council is saying that I can't be here.
Well, I can understand that if we're like saying like, okay, so everybody come back except for like maybe Jared.
Well, but that can be a tell-off.
And I kind of agree with Christine. She's saying that there are some people that will always think that way regardless. I think she's right. And I do, Chris, I see I'm just going to briefly touch on that. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Chris. And then I agree, though, people want their creature comforts despite how it might hurt others, selfishness. Yeah, I mean, I think the struggle, the eternal struggle of humanity and of the Christian, right, and of what Jesus was facing was that Jesus seemed to be preaching a message that you need to put the needs of others over your own wants, which is not anything like radically new to Jesus. People have been saying this forever. And we're people who want to assert our own wants over others' needs all the time. I mean, that's the thing, like when you hear about rights. So I'm a political theory major in college. Rights mainly were developed with the understanding that your rights extend as far as till they start infringing on the rights of others. So like your freedom of speech only goes as far, your right to freedom of speech only goes as far as until it starts violating the rights of others, right? That can be tricky, and like that, essentially that's what the Supreme Court there is to determine like where those boundaries are in a lot of cases, right? So like yelling fire in a crowded movie theater, that's a violation of, that's not a violation of freedom of speech because you're endangering the rights of others to safely enjoy a movie, right? Property rights go up to your boundary. So I think we've become, I don't know if we've become, maybe that's not fair. I've become more aware that we are increasingly self-centered when it comes to our understanding of what rights are, and that I just have rights. And it doesn't matter what that means about your rights because I have my rights.
Yes, and that is Augustine, of increasingly making it about ourselves. And it's also revelation. So like when there's a throne in heaven, and everyone else is watching the throne. That's the Kanye West album. But when
all
we
right,
gather,
have a good night, folks. I'm out. We're talking about Kanye now.
And Jay-Z. When we gather around the throne, it's one of the things is that there's someone on the throne, and it's not me. Like this is the problem of what's his face?
Gilligan's Island?
No, what's the astronomer's name?
Galileo.
Galileo, thank you. Galileo and the church was like, no, the earth is the center of the universe. Like, no, it's not. Like, I'm not on the throne. God is. Like, so like the more we're always tempted to place ourselves on the throne. That's what Adam and Eve were tempted to do by eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Like we are tempted to continually put ourselves at the center of the universe,
Sure.
the center of the world, the center of a story.
Yes.
And that is a temptation throughout the scriptures that we are once again being tempted with in a unique way. And I think, was it Jim said, we have this choice to choose one way or the other, and that to me is the beauty of God in giving us choice. Like, are we going to choose to make it foremost about us, or are we going to choose to, whatever it looks like, to make our starting point less about me and more about you?
Right.
About the care of
I think
someone
that's what
else.
Jesus means when he says, "I am the way." Right. I mean, he's saying that my choice is the choice. That's the way to go. Not
is the way.
Not the choice to be selfish and self-centered. And
Jesus came that we might have life and have it to the fullest. And so that life at its fullest is not about myself.
right.
It's not about accumulating more. It's not about making more.
But this is nothing new. Like,
For
I mean,
myself.
I think about how many times things have happened in church where people have been like, "Well, I don't like that, so we shouldn't do that." And it's like, well, yeah,
That's
but it's
another
not about
manifestation
you,
of it.
right?
That's another manifestation of it.
Right.
That's the same thing. Oh, I didn't like that hymn on Sunday.
Right.
Well, I didn't really either.
Well, I don't
even
like
though I picked it out.
Right. I don't like contemporary music, so okay, well, that service isn't for you.
Well, and it's
Right.
not about me anyway. It's,
Right.
it's not like
Right.
who are you worshiping? Like the
Right.
more you complain about the music style, the more you're making it about worship about yourself.
Right. Well,
And like that's the trick.
yeah.
I didn't get anything out of worship today. Well, boo-hoo. I understand like that we are responsible.
Welcome
in
to
some
Pastoral
say, but,
Therapy
like-
with Quincy.
Yeah. But it's not this whole thing is not about me.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the
It's
thing,
not
right?
about
Like,
you.
now, granted, like, I also like, yeah. I mean, there are some pastors who are very much like, and I know we're getting off on a tangent, but I think it's an important one. Like, there's some pastors like, well, church isn't about what you could get out of it; it's about what you can give to God, right? And yes, that is true. However, I think that there should be something there for everybody, but it doesn't mean that every Sunday is going to be everything for you, right?
Exactly.
So, like, I tell people that, like, with my sermons, when I'm at my best, which is rare, I try and, like, so maybe this week's sermon might be edged to older adults, right? But then, like, next week's sermon's going to be kind of more relatable to, people my age who are having kids and going through, right? So not every sermon is going to hit every audience in the congregation, but the goal is to, work your way around the room, right? So by the end of the month, everybody's mad at me and not just one group of people, right?
That's right.
So, but I think that's the thing is, like, not everything the church does is just for you, right? And in fact, a lot of what the church should be doing isn't for any of us. It should be for others. But there's got to be some feeding and nourishing there, like the church, like especially worship. And Jeff, please chime in when you've got something or somebody else says. Like worship, like that is a place to be charged up and recharged and refueled, so you can go out from and do things, right? So I think that has to play a part. But yeah, I do get annoyed with the, well, I didn't like that. Like, well, okay.
Well, I think what we're talking about is what's the starting point. It's like if your fundamental disposition is this service is for me to feed me to recharge me every Sunday, well, that's the wrong fundamental disposition. Even in what you're talking about of you thinking maybe this week about a particular demographic within your church, next week another, means that the message isn't just for you. Like that you're intentionally thinking about the welfare and the spiritual health of certain persons in the church.
Right, yeah.
So like your fundamental disposition is not about how great can Quincy be this Sunday, or is Quincy getting fed?
Right, or like
and the same thing for the
Quincy's going to have
worship.
a self-therapy session from the pulpit this morning, which
Well,
I have
that's-
seen pastors do.
It's so uncomfortable.
What, to do
Like,
or to watch?
Just to be in, like to see that happening.
Oh,
It's just
gosh.
like it's awkward. Like we hosted this Enneagram session, and like the speaker just like ended up going in about her relationship with her dad, and like it got really uncomfortable for me like quickly. But it's the same thing. It's like it's not like it can't benefit you also. But if we're talking about our fundamental predisposition, is it others oriented or is it about ourselves?
Right.
And like the proclivity is to be bent inward, to make it about ourselves, to make this whole thing, whether it's worship or social distancing or whatever, about how I'm doing.
Yeah, I know, but I agree with what Sue is saying, because and that's kind of what my sermon was about last week, or this previous Sunday. Golly, when was Sunday? Today's Wednesday, right? I'm so lost on time. Like, there are so many. There's a million and one negative ways to look at what's going on, because there's a million and one negative things going on, right? And I know, like, you get all these conspiracy theories about government control and da-da-da-da-da, and media overhyped, and it's just whatever. Regardless, I've also seen, like, you can get on Facebook any time of day. You've got musicians from super famous to friends I didn't even know could play guitar, giving concerts. You and I are here doing this, which is nothing we would have been doing probably before. This would be a lunchtime conversation, and we'd be like, we should do something like this, and it would never happen. The creativity I see taking place in worship, the compassion and outreach that we see people giving one another. More people are thinking and shopping locally because they want to support local business. The deference we're showing to store clerks. I don't see people in stores being I don't see people being rude to each other in stores. To the clerks, at least, like not on the level like I did before. I mean, there's always exceptions to these things, right? Like the people are protest, Like, I think that what we're seeing is a world that is being more compassionate, more empathetic, more community-minded than I think I've seen in the past few years. I've also seen technology be used in better forms and more meaningful ways of communication than I've ever seen maybe in my life, right? But what my fear is that just like anything, and I don't mean to put up a false dichotomy, but it seems like one where either that's going to be stuff that's emphasized and enhanced when we get out of this, or it's going to be completely selfish, self-centered in what you're talking about.
I'm saying that's the temptation, and I think that going back to Jim is you always have a choice. So like
always,
but we can't be either Pollyanna or we can't be everything is awful. Like there is wisdom in recognizing that both are happening at the same time. Both we are seeing profound acts of kindness and some potential for some beautiful life to keep flourishing in a new way. And also naming that there's also a lot of horrible things going on, and manipulation and awfulness.
Right,
so
which is why Niebuhr, totally disagreed with, well, not totally, but disagreed with Hegel's dialectic. I mean, that's the Niebuhrian model, Reinhold, not Richard. It's Richard. And, Niebuhr says, Hegel says things get better and then they get worse, and they get even better and then they get even worse. So it becomes like this roller coaster that like waves out. Where Niebuhr says, no, the better things get, the greater the potential for them to get worse is. And as the potential for goodness rises, so does the potential for evil. The example I always used was technology, right? The more we develop technology to save human life, the better technology is. Also, the better ways of killing people on mass levels gets. So, with the development of technology, the potential for its good and evil uses increases. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about now. It's not an either or, it's a both and.
It says the screen's frozen.
And that's
voices are continuing that picture is frozen.
Picture is frozen. Well, now you're listening to the Pastors in Plaid podcast.
Sponsored by Tomato Bar.
Don't do that until they start giving us pizza. Screen is frozen. Okay. And that's our show for tonight, folks.
Yeah, I concur. It's frozen.
That's weird.
Should I try and refresh, or is that going to disconnect us?
I wonder if people can still hear us.
I don't know. Let's hit I'm going to hit refresh.
I think it'll kill the stream.
Will it kill the stream?
Yeah.
I'm not going to hit refresh.
Can you hear us?
Let me see if I can still hear you on this.
Testing 1, 2. Hello?
I'm calling them to... Okay. Can you all at least hear us if you can't see us? You can hear. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
All right.
I can hear it.
See, I think this moving to the sanctuary thing, I don't think it's as good as.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So it's prettier, except now it's gotten dark in here.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot darker.
So next week we'll be back. Next week we'll be back in the office where it's a little bit better.
Yeah. Anyway, so the timing, I mean, whatever, we got like 3 minutes left anyway, 5 minutes. So Sue had just put, like we had mentioned earlier too, that like it took a long time for the waters to abate and for their life to go back to their new normal. But like, so within that, they were preparing for what they would do when they would, and this is implicit in the story, I'm reading into it. But now's the time for us to be asking the question of, this is just, to me, it's a soul check.
Yeah.
Am I making this fundamentally about myself, or am I fundamentally concerned at least as much with the welfare of other people?
Yeah.
And it's not wrong to care for your own health. It's not wrong to care for your own family.
No, I mean, Jesus says you got to love your neighbors as you love yourself.
Yeah.
No, Jim, I'm actually cleaning my office right now. It looks fantastic in there. I'm not going to take this whole, you probably trashed your office and couldn't use it tonight. No, the office looks better than it has in years. Now, the hallway outside of my office looks awful, but we weren't going to film in there anyways.
That's right.
Where's the boo? There needs to be a thumbs down pin on that.
It's advancement in technology that just killed your video. That's right. Oh, that happened on Sunday. It was really close. I agree, Cindy. Folks that don't have technology, we're trying to mail out CDs of the services also. But so anyway, so what I'm challenged with is just a soul check of. And that's something too, like the rain is so interesting to me. It's like I was getting down about it on Friday and Saturday when it was like cold and windy and rainy, and like I was just grumpy all day on, I don't know, Friday or Saturday or probably both.
As opposed to
being relatively jovial. I don't know if Jim's taking you, but
he should be. I shouldn't be mean to him. I asked him to write me a recommendation for that Wabash leadership thing, so I better be nice to him. I got to email that out to him. As soon as we're done with this, I got to do that.
But anyways, today I just found the rain to be refreshing. Like there's a bit of a balm in it today. This like cleansing, and I just see the grass thickening up and getting greener and the buds on the trees. Like the storms aren't always bad. And like, but we can have a choice in how we'll respond to them, how we'll see them, like what we'll do while we're in them. I mean, that's just always we have choice, and that's both a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Like you have a choice.
But that's what
thou mayest.
Jesus says the light shines through the darkness, or John says, the light shines through the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. It's not saying that the darkness is gone. It's saying the light shines through the darkness.
Even night is his day to God.
Right.
Like that's cool.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, at least to myself, is I don't know, choose joy. Like thou mayest. That's Tim's show. That's John Steinbeck's East of Eden. Like thou mayest conquer sin. Thou mayest choose to care for someone else, whether that's buying locally, whether that's planting a garden, whether that's delivering flowers to someone's front porch, whether it's remaining in our homes longer than we think is necessary.
Or,
because we care.
Not standing directly behind me in the line at the store where I can feel your breath on my neck.
Just 6 feet.
Yeah.
It's not, but I'll
I think
say,
that's a great
I just want to say, it's hard.
It is hard.
It isn't easy. It's what none of us wants. It makes us grumpy and irritable. We started out this way. I'm feeling fatigued. I don't want this. I hate not being with everybody every week. But it's an act of, for me, and increasingly, it's becoming a discipline of love.
Yes.
And I don't like discipline. I don't like, Quincy, one of the things you told me several weeks ago here was your dad had taught you that hard work beats intent or something. What was that?
Discipline beats motivation.
Discipline beats motivation. So right. I started running again after you said that, because discipline beats motivation. I'm never motivated to run.
Right.
But I'm trying to be disciplined. And so to me, this is a discipline of love, even when I'm not when I'm motivated to do otherwise.
Yeah.
This is a discipline of love for me to care, to give an account for my fellow person.
Right.
That's just where this is moving. This is where my soul's going right now.
Yes.
I don't like it,
No.
but it's a discipline.
You're not supposed to.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think this is a great place to end. Frozen on screen.
That's right. I'm glad I don't have a herpenderp face. You know those
Dude,
memes?
it would have been great if your feet were
Huh?
like when you
Both of
pause
us.
movies.
That's one of the things, just to end on, I hate that about like our videos, like when we post it, then like sometimes the starting is me like going like,
or they,
like my eyes
like
closed.
YouTube will pick the thumbnail for you, right?
Yes.
They're always like me, like
I
looking
don't
like
get
I'm
a
chewing
tune.
cud.
No, like just give me a somewhat flattering or just a blank screen. Just
Yeah, I
don't
notice
default to
now,
me
like
looking
on
an
YouTube,
idiot.
I can make and upload my own thumbnails, which I'm going to start doing with
Oh,
much
really?
more flattering
Okay, good.
pictures than what we've
Good.
got. All right.
Anyways, God bless you all. Everything's falling apart. We lost Jeff.
Clearly,
Good
we
night.
shouldn't be doing this in the sanctuary.
No, it's that one and done.
All right.
Cool.
Have a
Okay.
good night. Be safe. Be
Yeah.
healthy. God bless you.
Thank
and
you.
we will talk to you soon.
It was fun.
Yep.
Bye.